But another thing that I want to know about, because I've said it in a number of videos, I've been talking about it a lot, the mid-level exception. The Knicks have access to it. There's a number of things they could do with it. But I've been screaming from the rooftops, you need to utilize it now. We know you need to utilize it now. Mitchell Robinson's status dictates that you use it now. But maybe the Knicks don't want to do that. Maybe the Knicks want to hold on to it and see what else they can do with that final roster spot. And according to Ian Begley, they might utilize that final roster spot by giving it to somebody who earns it in camp. Let's break down these latest reports from Begley regarding the Knicks and what they plan to do with the final roster spot that they have access to. Shout out to Ian Begley. He answered the following information. The question asked to him was, how will the Knicks use their remaining cap space and or their last roster spot? And his answer was the following. They could keep the spot open during training camp and give it to a player who impresses in camp or preseason. They currently have 14 players on a traditional NBA contract and 3 players on two-way deals. NBA teams can carry a maximum of 15 players on NBA contracts and 3 players on two-way deals during the regular season. In training camp, they can carry a maximum of 20 players. So the Knicks can see who excels in training camp and give the 15th spot to a player currently on a camp deal. So that means we already know we have players like potentially Okeke. We remember that. Okeke was signed to an Exhibit 10 or I believe 9 deal, essentially a training camp deal. Let's say if he shows out and he does everything he needs to do, the Knicks could potentially say, okay, I like what I see. We're going to turn his contract into a standardized deal and he can take that final roster spot. The Knicks could definitely do that and it wouldn't really hurt them as much. And they would still have access to the mid-level exception that they could utilize maybe at the buyout market toward February or March in the season. So that's something worth noting. But let's continue here and see what else Begley has to say. According to Begley, worth noting here, people familiar with the matter said late last month that it was unlikely that the Knicks would use their 15th roster spot to sign backup guard Ryan Arcidiacono. Arcidiacono had spent parts of the past 2 seasons with the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau continuously praised Arcidiacono's professionalism and the way he impacted the team despite his limited minutes. But people familiar with the matter felt that it was unlikely that Arcidiacono would be back under the current Knicks roster. Things can change if the Knicks make a trade. But if they plan to sign Arcidiacono, a close friend of Jalen Brunson, to the 15th roster spot, they would probably have done so already. So it looks like, at least as of right now, all the hopes and dreams that we all have had to seeing all of these Nova guys together, including Ryan Arcidiacono, it doesn't seem like that dream is going to happen. If anything, according to Ian Begley, there's no room for Ryan on this roster. Now, while it does break my heart just a little bit, because selfishly, on Media Day, I would love to see all of those Nova guys together taking that photo. But I don't think that photo is worth whatever $1 million they would have to pay Ryan to be that bench player on this team. If anything, it does make more sense to give that roster spot to a player that earned it. And if that player earns it in in training camp, I can't hate on that. And I'm not going to hate on that. So the Knicks could do that. The Knicks could go into the season potentially, and they might be able to use that roster spot with the MLE at the February or March months. Because remember, after the trade deadline, there's a lot of players, they don't re-sign or they get bought out. And if that happens, they're remaining. They're out there. They're free agents. And if the Knicks want to be able to sign them, they're going to need the capital to do so. So if you don't utilize the MLE and you just utilize that 15th roster with a player that earns it in camp, that can go a long way for the Knicks and their future moves that they might want to do. Again, there are levels to this. There are steps to this, but the Knicks have multiple moves. It's just not trade for a center or you're done. They could trade for another significant player and then use the buyout to get another impactful center on this team. Leon Rose, this Knicks front office, what have they always done? They've managed to surprise us. They've managed to do things that we've never thought possible. And because of that, you can never rule out who's going to be the players on this Knicks team after the deadline and the buyout market is all said and done. But the Knicks are going to have an opportunity because they're going to have the money in hand. Because according to Begley, there's nothing looking like they're going to utilize that MLE to get another player on this team. So that means somebody in training camp is going to have to earn it. Now, there's a lot of players that I would like to see earn it. But selfishly, Ariel Huckaporty, that's one of the guys that I would like to see his two-way contract turned into a significant standard NBA deal, because Mitchell Robinson may not be available. Backups like Precious Achiuwa, he's going to be gone at the trade deadline. Jericho Sims, he's emergency rotational at best. If you give those minutes to Ariel Huckaporty because he earns it, make sure we're clear here. I'm not just saying give it to him because he's a rookie, give it to him because we just drafted him. He has to earn the minutes. If Huckaporty earns those minutes, then absolutely, you give him that standardized deal, and then he becomes the backup to Mitchell Robinson. It's not ideal. It's not what I want, but it's the best of the solutions that we have right now, and potentially it can help the Knicks get to December 15th when they can trade Precious Achiuwa and all of these other players to get another backup center or maybe even a starting center at that point in time. But we have to get there. And the only way to get there is to remain as healthy as possible, give Mitchell Robinson time to heal, and when he's available, he can join this team. But those are the ways the Knicks can respond. Shout out to Ian Begley for giving us all of these updates, because it was something on my mind. I didn't know what the Knicks were going to do with that final roster spot. I was concerned headed into training camp without it being filled. But at least we now know why. The Knicks want to see somebody go get it. Somebody get very, very aggressive, be very impressive in training camp, take it, not just be given it, but go out there and take it and make sure you understand why they took it when they're added to this team. You got to love that mentality. For me, I can't wait to see who grabs that brass ring and gets that final roster spot. G5 Wiz says, I'm not happy about Precious starting for the season openers. Top 10 games will speak volumes. I absolutely agree with you there. The top 10 games that we're going to have to deal with, it's going to be very important, guys. And I think those games are going to define us. It is important that we play our best level of basketball. But to do that, we're going to need to be healthy. That's why Mitchell Robinson going down hurts a little bit. Because during those first games, especially a Knicks team that is seen as a contender, everybody talking about them like they're a contender, if I'm an opposing team, I'm going to want to shut you down and make sure nobody's talking about you. That's why we need to be fully healthy when we go into the season. Again, Robinson has a lot of time left before we start the season to recover and come back for that first game. But it's not looking great in terms of him in rehab, trying to get past those particular hurdles and trying to come back and join this team. And we all know if you're not going to be available in training camp, it might be weeks before you're cleared for contact, to even practice again, and then to join this team. That's why the concerns are there. But thanks, and shout out to you for the comment here. If you enjoyed these clips from the live show, be sure to subscribe to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any new episodes or when we go live. Thanks for watching, Knicks fans, and until next time, peace.